Hello, and welcome to the Request for Funds overview for the Homekey Round 3 program. This video is specifically for grantees who have been awarded funds from the California Department of Housing and Community Development for the Homekey Round 3 program. My name is Charles Gray, and today, along with the Homekey Round 3 grant management team, our goal is to provide grantees with a step-by-step guide on how to complete the Homekey Round 3 request for funds form and wire transfers. You will hear from our valued grant management representatives, beginning with Cheyenne Moore, followed by Nicole Robinson, Brandy Stowe, and Akil Jackson. Today's presentation begins with an overview of the Homekey Round 3 Request for Funds form, or RFF, and including the importance of enabling editing content. We will explain how to fill out and certify the RFF form. We will also explain when and how to submit your RFF form and process for requesting a wire transfer. For today's agenda, we will be providing an overview of the RFF process, including pre-disbursement requirements, where to find the RFF form on the HCD website, filling out the RFF form, general information and reimbursements, wire transfers, expenditure breakdown, and certification. We will then conclude the Homekey 3 Request for Funds overview. If at the end of this presentation you still have questions, please reach out to your assigned state grant management representative, and they will be happy to assist you.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne Moore, and I'm a grant management representative for the Homekey program. As a grant award recipient, you will have received the pre-disbursement letter shown here on the screen from your dedicated grant management representative shortly after receiving your official award letter from HCD. The pre-disbursement letter outlines the standard requirements for all grantees that must be satisfied before award funds can be dispersed. Next, we will walk through each of the requirements on the next slide. The pre-disbursement requirements include the following: a draft use restriction, a relocation plan that has been reviewed and approved by HCD's legal division, an insurance certificate per the NOFA Section 800, a signed statement of assurances of state prevailing wage, a preliminary title report dated within 15 days of your first request for funds, a request for funds form, commonly known as an RFF, and any additional conditions precedent to disbursement in your standard agreements Exhibit E, paragraph 5. These additional conditions, if any, will be tailored to your specific project. If you intend to have acquisition award funds wired directly to an escrow company as part of closing escrow and acquiring the property, the following is needed in addition to the items just mentioned: a HCD wire transfer request form, a separate request for funds form for the escrow wire request, and wiring instructions from your title company. We strongly recommend submitting as many pre-disbursement documents as possible prior to the execution of your standard agreement. This will prevent potential delays in dispersing funds once your agreement is executed. The aforementioned forms, including the Request for Funds form, or RFF, can be found on the Homekey Monitoring and Disbursement webpage. You'll start by going to www.hcd.ca.gov/grants-and-funding/Homekey. Once you're on the Homekey program homepage, scroll down to the middle of the page where you'll see the Essential Resources box in blue. Here you'll find a link to the Monitoring Forms and Disbursement webpage. This page contains all of SGM's reporting and disbursement forms, as well as materials needed to help guide you through the reporting and disbursement processes. After clicking the link, scroll down and click on the plus sign next to the disbursement subheading to expand the section. There you'll find the Homekey Round 3 RFF form and other disbursement resources. The Request for Funds form, or RFF, is located under the Homekey Round 3 Disbursement Forms section. There you'll find the Excel workbook entitled Request for Funds form, as well as the version date. Please be sure to always come back to this webpage and use the link to download the Request for Funds form rather than saving a copy onto your computer. These forms are frequently updated to correct errors and improve functionality. Grantees must use the most up-to-date versions of our forms located on the website to avoid processing delays. Lastly, we ask that you complete the form in the provided Excel format. Once you have filled in the necessary information, please save the document and return it to your grant management representative as an Excel file. This will help streamline the processing of your submission. If you would like to provide a signed copy as a PDF, please return both the signed PDF and the completed Excel file for processing. Next, we'll provide you with an overview of the form and go over a few key areas of significance.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Hi, my name is Nicole Robinson. I am a grant management representative for the Homekey program. Now that you have completed your pre-disbursement requirements and downloaded the RFF form, I'm going to walk you through filling out the general information and reimbursement sections. Items you will need to complete these sections are the standard agreement and RFF form. Now let's take a look at the Homekey 3 Program Request for Funds form. There are two tabs at the bottom of this form. The first one is the Instructions tab, and it provides a list of the standard pre-disbursement requirements, in case you need a refresher when completing the form. The second is the Request for Funds form tab. Let's review how to complete the required information. The first step is to enable editing and enable macros so that you will have full functionality. On this slide, I will provide an overview on how to successfully fill out the general information and reimbursement sections of the RFF. Section 1, General Information. In the first fillable cell, you will insert your project's contract number, which can be found on your standard agreement. The number assigned to your project that starts with 23-HK and is followed by a unique 5-digit number. The RFF number is which RFF request this is in your process. If this is your first RFF, you would input number 1. If this is your second RFF, you would input the number 2, and so on and so forth. The date of the request is the date that you fill out this form. Please make sure that this date is on or after the date that your standard agreement is executed. We cannot process a request for funds form that is dated prior to the execution of the standard agreement. The project lead applicant would be your primary sponsor or grantee. So this would be your jurisdiction, county, city, public entity, or tribal entity, even if the payee is one of the co-applicants. The project name is the name of your project. If you are unsure, you can double check the standard agreement, and usually it is in the header or the footer. The preparer name is whoever is filling out the form. And then the next fillable cell, you would input the preparer's title. The payee per standard agreement, Exhibit E, is the entity to which the funds are going to be paid. Please be sure that you enter this information exactly how it's entered in the standard agreement. If the standard agreement says the payee is the County of Sacramento, please do not put Sacramento County in the RFF. Even changes as simple as this can cause delays in the processing and may result in the form being kicked back to you to fix the name. The payee full address should also match exactly what is listed in the standard agreement. That means if your organization is located on West Avenue and it is abbreviated WAV in the standard agreement, copy it the same way in this cell. The payee contact person would be the point of contact from the entity that is listed as the payee if we have questions about the request. This does not have to be the authorized representative. It should be a daily contact for the project or whoever would be most knowledgeable and responsive to any questions about the form. Then you would fill out their email, address, and phone number. Is this an acquisition only project? An acquisition only project is a project that will not require any rehabilitation or construction after acquisition to become habitable. This does not include minor upgrades or features that might be added after the project is in operation. If you are unsure, then the best litmus test is if the building could be occupied immediately after acquisition with no renovations or changes. Then it is acquisition only. The next cell asks for a construction start date. If this form is for an acquisition only project, then you can input not applicable or N/A. If there will be construction, but you do not know the date that construction is going to start, please provide the best estimate that you can give. It does not have to be exact, and we will collect this information again when construction is completed, but we do need to have some sort of understanding of when construction is expected to begin. Finally, input any other funding sources that will be used for rehabilitation or construction, separated by commas if there are multiple. You do not have to specify how much is coming from each of these sources. Section 2, reimbursement. If you are not seeking reimbursement and the entirety of your funding is to be in advance, you may skip this section. The reimbursement section is only for projects which are asking for funds to reimburse expenses that were incurred on or after March 3rd, 2021. If you are submitting a request for reimbursement, select Yes in cell C20, which makes sure to attach all supplemental proof of expenditures to back up your claim. Next, we have my colleague Brandy, who will review the wire and expenditure breakdown sections of the RFF form.
My name is Brandy Stowe, Grant Management Representative for the Homekey program. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the wires section of the RFF form. The section of the form related to wires is only for projects which require a wire transfer directly into an escrow account for the purchase of the Homekey site. To process a wire and guarantee that HCD can wire funds into the escrow account by the closing date, the program needs at least 30 days lead time from the date of the request. Please keep this in mind as you gather your required conditions of disbursement prior to submitting your signed RFF. If you are not requesting a wire, select No in the drop-down menu of cell C22. You may now skip the rest of this section and proceed to the demonstration of the expenditure breakdown section. If you are requesting a wire, select Yes in that same cell. You may have noticed that when you select Yes, the expenditure breakdown table collapses so that it only shows the eligible use row for acquisition. As a side note, if you have enabled macros through Excel and are still having trouble with the macros working on this form, try saving the document on your desktop or a folder. Close it out and then reopen it in its new location. You will know if the macros are not working by the red blocked macro ribbon at the top of the form, or if the expenditure breakdown table doesn't collapse as shown. Now, let me point out some required fields on the form. Row 22 requires the closing date and the escrow number. Row 23 requires your escrow company name and the name of your escrow officer. Row 24 is the escrow officer's complete contact information. Now I'm going to walk you through the expenditure breakdown section. There are 3 key columns for you to fill out: total award amount, total draw amounts previously approved, and the draw amount requested this period. These columns are broken out for each eligible use activity and listed in the rows on the left. You will be filling out each activity your project was awarded per the standard agreement. Total award amounts should go into column D, regardless of whether you are requesting funds for that activity in this form or plan to do so later. Something else to remember: the wire request cannot exceed the amount awarded for acquisition in your standard agreement. The section above the white line in row 35 is all activities that make up your capital award. The one row 36 is for your operating subsidy award. Along the right are columns that are automatically calculated based on your entries to show how much total has been drawn per activity, what percent of that award has been drawn, and the balance that will remain after the draw is approved. If the request is more than the amount of the award, the corresponding cell will then turn red to indicate that there is an error. If you've been able to follow me so far, I want to point out two additional written resources for completing a wire transfer. Please refer to the Requesting a Wire Transfer Acquisition PDF via the link at the top of the form for more information. Please then download and complete the HCD Wire Transfer Request form to be included with your RFF request. Both forms are available on the Program Monitoring and Disbursement webpage. Now that we've done an overview of the expenditure section, let's walk through an example to request a disbursement via regular check. Let's say your project has a total award of $1.75 million, $1 million for acquisition, $500,000 for rehabilitation, $250,000 for operating expenses, and you want to request the entire amount as an advance. So regardless of how much you are asking for in this request, you will put the full award amount for each activity in the total award amount column, column D. For this scenario, I have input $1 million in cell D27, which is the total acquisition award. The total draw amounts previously approved would be used if you had submitted a prior RFF for this activity. If that were the case, you would put the amount of acquisition funds already requested in cell E27. But again, in this scenario, we are saying that this is our first RFF and a total advance. Next, we'll input the same award amounts in the column 4, draw amounts requested this period for each eligible use you would like to draw from. As implied, this column, column F, is for how much you are requesting for this RFF. So if you only wanted to request half of the acquisition funds now and the other half later, you would put $500,000 in cell F27. As you can see in column I, it now shows that there is still $500,000 remaining in the amount of the award. Please allow me to change that back to $1 million. Moving on, we have $500,000 total for rehabilitation, which I have input into cell D28, $0 in E28, since there is nothing that has been previously approved, and $500,000 in cell F28, since we are requesting 100% of those funds. Now I'm going to go down to row 36, which it asks for capitalized operating subsidy, and I have input $250,000 for the total award, $0 in the total draw amount previously approved, and $250 in the draw amount requested this period. Once you have filled out all the applicable rows in this table, confirm your numbers by making sure The total amount in row 38 is equal to the total amount of your award per the standard agreement. If there is a discrepancy, that means there may be a typo or an error in one of the numbers that was input into these columns. One of the most common issues is accidentally double counting one of the eligible uses for capital funds, because sometimes activities like relocation are called out separately in the standard agreement, even though the amount for relocation is included in the total capital award.
Thank you, Brandy, for walking us through the wire section of the RFF form. My name is Akil Jackson, and I'm a grant management representative for the Homekey program. Now, let's go through this process again, but this time, let's say we're asking for acquisition funds to be wired to an escrow account. As mentioned before, you will need to submit two separate RFFs to request all award funds if the request includes a wire. I'll walk you through this using the same figures as before. Let's say that you want your total award advanced, but you want the $1 million wired directly to your escrow account. In order to do this, you would need to submit two separate requests for funds forms. It doesn't matter which one is RFF1 and which is RFF2, but for the sake of this example, let's say RFF number 1 is for acquisition only. You will input yes to requesting a wire, and then you'll fill out the remaining information in the wire section as described by Brandy earlier in this presentation. Under the expenditure breakdown, you will fill out $1 million in the total award amount for acquisition of motels, hotels, or hostels. Make sure to place a 0 in the total draw amounts previously approved. Then list $1 million in the draw amount requested for this period. Beneath this row, there should only be one other option, and that is for the cumulative total award for the rest of your eligible activities. In this case, since your award in this scenario is 1.75 million and you got your million for acquisition, then we have 750,000 left for all other eligible uses. Input this total and any draw amounts previously approved. Since this is RFF1, there are no previous amounts. Notice that you can't fill in the cell to request other eligible uses in this RFF because you can only request the acquisition award. Now be sure to double check that the total amount in cell D38 is the same as the total award amount in your standard agreement. Now, just as a side note, sometimes the macros don't work. If you select yes to receiving a wire and the expenditure breakdown table does not collapse, don't panic. The system is set up so that even if this happens, if you select yes to wire, the form will warn you if there are requesting funds that cannot be wired by turning the ineligible amounts red to tell you that something is wrong. If there are no ineligible amounts and you don't see any amounts in red, you'll fill out the rest of the form as normal and save it somewhere. Now, you'll download a new form and prepare to begin RFF number 2. Fill out the first sections as normal, making sure you input the number 2 into the RFF number cell. When you get to the wire section, input no for requesting a wire to the escrow account and leave the rest of the section blank. Now, you'll see that the rows beneath the expenditure breakdown do not change, and you should still see all of the individual eligible activities. In the total award amount column, you will list the $1 million for acquisition of motels, hotels, or hostels. Then you will put that same amount in the total draw amounts previously approved. Even though technically that first RFF has not been processed and approved yet, we are going to assume that it will be to make sure that the amount of award remaining balance calculates correctly. Then you will place 0 in the total draw amount requested this period. In the row for rehabilitation, the total award amount will be $500,000. Put 0 in total draw amount previously approved and $500,000 in draw amount requested this period. In row 36, you will list $250,000 in the total award amount cell. Then you'll place 0 for total draw amounts previously approved and $250,000 for draw amounts requested this period. And that's it. Congratulations. You have successfully filled out your RFF forms for wire and regular disbursements. The final section of this form is the certification. First, list the name of your authorized representative. Make sure that this aligns with your authorizing resolution, or if there is a designee, that there is a designee letter on file. Put the title of the authorized representative in the next cell. You will need to have your authorized representative sign and date the form in the next 2 cells. As stated earlier, remember to convert the form to a PDF document before adding your e-signature. That concludes our demonstration showing how to complete the RFF form.
This concludes our Homekey 3 Request for Funds overview. We hope this overview helps you understand how to fill out the RFF form so you can receive your disbursements timely. Please reach out to your assigned grant management representative and they will be happy to assist you. You may also contact us at homekey3sgm@hcd.ca.gov. We look forward to partnering with you to ensure the success of your project.